Hi everybody, welcome back to Cinemen. Couple of quick, announcements before we dive into this week's movie is I've been throwing up reviews on the channel. I don't know, Alex, if you saw my review this morning that I
did.
posted. Yep, and I'm gonna keep doing those because I'm watching movies anyway, so I may as well do it right. And I think I'm gonna make an announcement about a personal project of stuff. Not what you think.
Oh,
um,
okay.
well, I'll tell you. I'll make the announcement right here, right now. Okay. So as I mentioned, in the last few episodes, I mentioned that I'm moving back into my house after, we had a flood and we had some reconstruction, remodeling done, and I'm moving back in. And while I was doing that, I was realizing, I'm looking at all my books, and so I have a big TBR list of books that I haven't read, and as I was organizing, I categorized those so that I know which ones I need to read. And I was like, oh, for my personal channel, that I'll just do the reviews of those, and I'll work through that list
Oh,
and update it.
nice.
On this channel, I was realizing I have a bunch of movies that I haven't watched, and I kind of mentioned that recently. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to watch them for Cinemen, or I don't know that I want to do them as Cinemen movies. So I wrote them
Yeah.
down. I have a bunch because when you buy on Apple, you get these packs. Sometimes they're 25 movies, and it's like, well, I bought a movie I wanted for 25 bucks, seeing that there was 24 other movies on there. And so I have at least 50 something movies that I own that I've never watched. So I was like, oh, I'll work through that list and I'll just make reviews of those, and I'll make that a special thing, like a special playlist for that. Since I'm doing it anyway, I would encourage you to do the same thing, Alex. If you've got movies in your house, you make little reviews of them. And I, just because I know that we're putting out multiple videos every week as far as the shorts, but I thought this is just a good way to keep talking about movies with you as an audience.
Yeah.
So
And we also realize, and Mike and I have talked about this, that there are different kind of audiences on YouTube. There's the ones that
mhm.
want to watch a movie breakdown for an hour the way he and I do. And there are there are some scenarios where you don't have that much time. I mean, I have a lot more free time than Mike does because I'm not a parent. I've just got one elderly dog. That's the whole of my life. So it's different when I know people have children. Like my brother, he hasn't had that much time to watch my videos. My previous coworkers, current coworkers, they don't have that much time to watch these videos.
Yeah,
But if we
they
had
could listen to
shorter,
them in the car if they
they could listen
work.
to them in the car or shorter one shot stuff, which is
Yeah.
ideal for what you're describing. So we would appreciate you all coming along on that journey. I promise not to get too nerdy and start to review fountain pens and video game
No,
controllers and game history and shit. We're not.
for
That's a
this
personal
channel,
thing.
I'm keeping it to movies. My
Agreed.
other channel that I have, I will do the book stuff there, because this is really for us to talk about movies. This channel,
Yeah.
as well as projects we're working on, right?
Oh yeah.
We
Film and
announced a little
film
bit on
related.
our social media. We announced this past week that we've started work on a
Oh,
documentary.
documentary.
So
Yeah.
is it for you, our film going fans? Probably not so much, but unless you're a North Carolina resident, in which case it will be. But this is kind of that balance between, this is our film making and film watching channel.
Yes.
So,
Agreed. Completely agree.
and then so that was my big announcement. I'm gonna make the other announcement, and if I have to, I'll cut it out.
Not yet. No,
No,
no, just hold it on because then we can make a short video on it.
I feel like,
Ah.
yeah.
We
True,
will
true, true.
find out soon, audience. We will find out soon. That's not
Yep.
for now. It's very exciting for the two of us, or Chocolate Diamond as a whole, but it's not for now.
This week we're
Um,
talking about The Greatest Showman.
mhm.
This is week number 2 of musicals. Right off the bat, I want to say that when we come to our theme for the week, I wish we had done this before Singing in the Rain, just thematically, because it's this would have been the perfect transition from westerns and what the last couple weeks of westerns were to
Yeah, it
musicals,
really would have been. Oh my
because
gosh.
this is about P.T. Barnum, and it's not a western in any way. But what it is it's that American mythology that we talked about the last couple weeks of westerns. And so you and I, when we were discussing the theme last night and getting ready for tonight, we were like, I think it's kind of a failed experiment in like rewriting the American mythology, because
Yeah.
there's enough negative about P.T. Barnum. Like he doesn't have the outlaw branding the way like Jesse James did and those people did,
Yeah.
where you can kind of make that cool. It's like, oh, like, yeah, people thought he was kind of a piece of shit, but that's not the same as being an outlaw. It's not like Robin Hood, or, like there's no spin
Yeah.
on like he created the idea of the freak show, or, like the oddities. I know that they don't use the word freak show at all in the movie, but they, like that's, Logan even said at one point, like, he goes, "Is this about the making of the freak shows?" Like, because I guess they learned about it in school or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and like, there is, I think that this movie, this movie's what, 2017.
Hmm.
It has a tightrope to balance, because it has to both tell this story that is kind of, like there's a lot that was there that was entertainment in this, like it is this new thing, and it probably created, it probably helped to lead to like vaudeville in some ways, because P.T. Barnum is 1810 to
I'll take over. 1891.
1891. Thank you.
1810 to 1891.
So like at some of these points it almost certainly predates vaudeville even. So like, and vaudeville predates, vaudeville leads directly into a lot of what of film production became. And so like there is this natural through line that isn't necessarily in the same way as, like he talks about theater, like theater in the movie, and he talks about how it's just people talking to each other. So it's straight plays. There was no real musicals. There were operas back then, but there were no like musicals like this movie is. And so it was, they have to, there's this grand story to tell, while also balancing the history that I think maybe not your average person, but like pretty much by telling this story, you're having to admit the fact that like he was kind of a, a bad person. And like I
Yeah.
get, and there's like, oh well, a lot of times we do that revisionist history of like, well, it was the times and stuff, and it's like, well, even in the times he was seen as kind of a seedy character, and they do address that, but it's an odd balancing act that I don't think they really pull off completely. That being said, it wasn't a bad, like I wasn't like, oh, this movie sucks, but like we'll get
No.
in. Yeah.
And when Mike and I were discussing it, our theme is rebuilding or attempting to rebuild American mythology. And this isn't really a biopic on P.T. Barnum, so don't expect that like Discovery Channel, History Channel kind of a feel of a documentary or a docu-series about a specific historical hero. That's not what this is. And what the film isn't asking, who is P.T. Barnum. The Greatest Showman asks, I feel from watching it, what version of P.T. Barnum can a 2017 audience emotionally digest?
Right.
And in the frame of a musical, it makes a lot of sense because during 2017 and the few years after, when this film had its biggest height of popularity, there was a lot of focus on the music in the film. Obviously, it's a musical, but this is modern actors doing modern numbers, and in contrast to Singing in the Rain, it very much is a I feel a mediocre movie about like a capitalist showman, a huckster genius. It's really music and musical numbers dressing what is at best a C plot and writing.
Right. And
And I don't feel that makes a bad movie because the music keeps it exciting. It
right.
really does. The dancing keeps it exciting. The audio production keeps it exciting, but there's not this like memorable moments
Right.
that aren't the songs. There kind of really isn't.
No, it was when you were asking me to pull clips for this episode. I'm like, I don't even know. Like I had watched
Yeah.
it 5 minutes. I had finished watching it 5 minutes before you started texting me that. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know what's the best clip to pull. There's plenty of visual
And in fact, I
flair,
think
but
two of them are music specifically.
yeah.
Like as an example, two of the four I think are music related.
But I
So
think they're also visual. They're really strong visuals because
they are. They are.
Um,
So I mean, can you make a hero out of someone whose legacy is built on exploitation?
so
And
that's kind of why it made me think of the westerns because when we talked about a bit with actually all three of the last three movies that we watched for Westerns Month, we talked about that idea of American
yeah,
mythology. We talked about like with the Hell or High Water. We talked about this idea
yes.
of like criminals, or like basically like bad people who got a lot of money and then enough money to launder their reputation, and so like
Hmm.
and then they're the Rockefellers and the like people who did unscrupulous or bad things that got
Yeah.
that they built this legacy, and then like we don't really think about the legacy that much. Henry Ford and when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh, like P.T. Barnum for whatever reason isn't in that category. Maybe it was that he didn't make enough money, or he, and his legacy didn't. Maybe he didn't have generations live beyond him. I didn't look it up, but like, we don't have that vibe of him the way that like, you say Henry Ford to a lot of people, they're like, oh, Henry Ford revolutionized the idea of this and that. And it's like, oh, like by a lot of accounts, Henry Ford was borderline illiterate. He was not like an intelligent person. He was not a good person,
He's
but
not the
like,
industrial hero
right,
that like people's surface level understanding remember
right.
him as.
But
No one remembers. Yes.
he feeds that idea of the American mythology in a way
Agreed.
that P.T. Barnum, I think, is that same archetype and just for some reason didn't land the same way. Because even like Logan quickly was like, I think we were in the first third of the movie, and Logan was like, this is a weird movie to make a musical about, because he's like, he like Logan, without me saying anything, Logan's like, he's kind of a crappy guy. Like, and then
He's not a great father.
he had asked me 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, he goes, have they ever made a movie where the villain is the protagonist? And I was like, well, I kind of think you could say that about Infinity War because Thanos is kind of the main character. And he
Yeah.
goes, oh, yeah. And then last night, about like that first third, he goes, remember when I asked you that question, Dad? I think this is the movie. Did you pick it because of that? And I was
Well,
like, yeah. And I
so
actually don't think they depict him that bad overall. Like, there's a lot of ways in which
no.
I'm like, oh yeah, like they've definitely softened him, but not like in the right way. So I don't know,
No,
like,
no, because the film used modern like pop music isn't quite the right word. It's
right,
modern musical theater pop music, right?
yeah,
To emotionally update a 19th century American character, American story.
yeah,
This was not an accident. It was the entire strategy.
yeah,
Because I believe that in a writer's room, the entire story of The Greatest Showman, because one of our rules of this, or the only rule for this month's theme is that they have to have been movies first.
right,
So I can see a writer's room of people sitting down and saying, we're going to make a movie about P.T. Barnum. We're going to make a movie about a circus dude, the circus guy, right?
yeah,
And it's interesting to want to be a fly on the wall in there and think, yeah, you pick circus because it's big and loud and fun and brash. And you can immediately, if I said, we're going to make a musical, I'm not going to make a musical about glass blowing. I'm not going to make a musical about accountants. I'm going to
right,
make a musical about something big and fancy and loud and colorful and fanciful almost. And in the
yeah,
case of a circus, a little bit of sleight of hand, a little bit of disguising the truth. So
Yeah.
with someone like P.T. Barnum, with his history of kind of hoodwinking people on purpose, and even Hugh Jackman's character in the movie, he has lines where he's like, yeah, no, that's the point. I know it's not real.
Hmm.
They know it's not real. But if for
The
that
smiles
one
are
little
real, or
moment,
whatever he says.
yeah, yeah, are those smiles fake?
Yeah.
That's what it was. Are those smiles fake? Like the idea that he knows what he's doing. And to be honest, I think his patrons know what he's doing. Do they really think that that is a mermaid? In the case of the Fiji mermaid or the Fiji mermaid, which was a piece of history I did not know about P.T. Barnum, where it was a monkey stitched to a fish, and like stuff like that. The songs in this movie, they said to me that this is not old history. This is now. These people are us, and this dream belongs to us, because a lot of from the half of the film when he starts to amass his circus group, there is a lot of ownership and identity that those characters have for PT, but
Hmm.
also for the work that they do as entertainers. The mythology machine. So for production, the mythology machine was my major note headline here.
Hmm.
And the myth that this movie is trying to build is that it reconstructs several kind of American myths, not only of current time, but also of that time in history. The self-made man, the outsider family, and like that kind of entertainment as democracy idea for me is all of these kind of structures that the film does its best to tell the story of.
Right.
And Barnum starts poor, he dreams big, he gets laughed at by the elites that he then tries to stunt on for like the second half of the film, and then he builds something from nothing. So that self-made man is 100% spoken to
Hmm.
in the early part up to the major point of conflict, or the event that happens that really challenges his creation, and then
Well, what do you
even the
think is that?
result.
What do you think is that moment? I'm curious because I don't think there. I don't think there's a great clear point at which.
So the fire is the obvious one.
But the fire is like 5 minutes before the end of the movie.
No, I know, but the
But
fire
like,
is the obvious challenge,
right?
which is one of the reasons that I'm giving it like its middling kind of feel.
Yeah.
Is if that happened earlier, you could have had an entire
Hmm.
story arc on the rebuilding and the triumphant return. You could even have roped in the Ringling Brothers, which is the modern name that the Barnum and Bailey circus kind of
Yeah.
flies under, and there was no touching on that.
No,
So
I
so
agree.
so, so the idea, again, this is not a biopic, it wasn't meant to be, but you could have gone into that conflict much earlier on
Right.
and then had all of that come after and still not make it a biopic. No,
Yeah. I.
for me the challenge is when he sees his family start to crumble a little bit,
Hmm.
and the challenge of him bringing on Zac Efron's character and then
Yeah.
like reinvigorating the entirety of his brand
Yeah.
to the point that he feels successful. But Mrs. Barnum is like, um, yeah, your kids are still starting to realize you're a bit of a hack.
Yeah.
And that for me is the challenge that happens to him. It isn't like a one event like the fire, but to me,
Yeah.
when he notices his family
Right.
start to crumble, that's the big challenge to his brand and what he's created.
Okay. So I agree, and I think that's one of the things that falls flat for me too. Is that like, so I don't need a 3 act structure to be played out every time. Like, there's
No,
plenty of movies that defy the 3 act structure, but they do it in a way that's more purposeful. This
yeah,
I think doesn't hit think it's trying to be a 3 act structure and it just doesn't hit the beats correctly. So like,
Oh, good call.
so just for our audience, in case you're not clear, the 3 act structure is the first act you establish the problem. The second act is like, how are we going to attempt to deal with the problem? And at the end of the second act, everything has failed. You're at like the worst part possible. And usually the second act is as long as the first and third acts, so it's
Yeah.
30, 60, 30 roughly, or 20, 40, 20 minutes. And by the end of the second act, like Empire Strikes Back is the second act, right? And at the end of the second act, it's like, oh, how can they possibly get out of this? How can they possibly fix this? And I think that moment that they're trying to hit at the end of the second act in this is losing what's her face, the Jenny Lind or whatever her name is, Lynn.
Oh yeah.
And the kiss, and knowing that that's coming. But it was very clear pretty quickly. Like,
do we have a second Lena Lamont?
Maybe. But at the beginning of meeting that character, there is like, oh, is he going to leave his wife for her? Which,
Yeah.
we were all like, we love his wife. We don't want him to
She's so
leave
endearing. Yeah.
She's
yeah.
so
and
she's
he
so
loves
supportive.
his kids.
She's sweet. She's perfect, and she's so amazing. But by the time we get to the end of the second act, we realize that like his interest in her is not romantic. He might like have a little bit of like an attraction to her, but she's the thing that legitimizes him as a show producer, and she appeals to all of his ambition, but she's not like a object of lust for him, and we realize that. And so when she kisses him and on stage, and it's like, that's easy, like an easy enough thing to get out of. Even as an audience, we can be like, yeah, like you can literally be like, she read the situation wrong, like, and yes, will you be sleeping on the couch maybe? Sure, for a few nights, but like it's not the same thing as like if he actually cheated, like he didn't, and so like it doesn't hit that right. And especially because we saw immediately, like we saw him turn her down earlier in like the scene before. We saw him immediately push back from the kiss and be like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
So there was no like there was no linger there. They didn't like, and I get it that was probably realistic, right? Like that's what you wanted to tell, but then that's not your second act cliffhanger. Like that's not your like, oh shit moment.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really nail it for me. And I think the fire would be a much stronger one.
It is like packaged perfect. Or if as a big point of conflict.
And all you're doing by that is moving it forward 20 minutes. And
I don't need a lot of the rebuild, but I need enough like vignettes of what goes on to be like, oh yeah, cool, they won,
And also I think if you timed that with, and I know they kind of did this, but we don't really see that the circus has burned to a crisp until literally like the second to last scene. But if you
they're standing amongst the rubble,
you move all that forward 20 minutes, so you have, and you intercut, like you could have this relationship with Jenny Lind or whatever her name was.
Jenny Lind,
have that be part of it, and intercutting back and forth, so you see like, oh, he just lost his one remaining revenue source as his circus is burning. Like that works if you do it that way, but they don't really do it. Like we see the fights breaking out, but the fights have been breaking out basically from the beginning. Like there's been conflict. And so like you don't have any reason to know that like, oh, they're going to torch this place. It doesn't go. We really should be standing at the rubble with the people and being like, I don't have money if it's, let's say it's, was it 2 hour? Let's say it's a 2-hour movie. At like 90 minutes or so, we should be standing at that point.
Yeah.
And maybe you cheat the Zac Efron part and you have him, he hasn't come back yet. Or like he's, because he got really beat up in the fight and we don't know if he's going to live. And so have him and PT with a conflict. Or yeah,
Yeah.
or like, oh, PT's like feeling apologetic and I'm gonna lose it. We're all gonna lose everything. And
Yeah.
Zac Efron hasn't come out of his, coma yet, and they go see his character and Zendaya's character, or even just PT goes and not to like try to get money because he doesn't know the guy saved money, right? And then you have him trying to do what he can, like trying to figure out some way, and then Zac Efron wakes up and is like, well, I've been saving because I know
I know you're
you're
bad. Yeah.
irresponsible.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and I believe in this. You made me believe in this. You changed
Mhm,
my life. Boom, you've just hit the act better, and
mhm.
you've given us rebuild, not just like the promise of rebuild followed by the tent handoff, essentially.
Yeah, we could see it play out, and how you were describing the Jenny Lind. So when they go on the singing tour,
Yeah.
right? When he gets on the train, like that's that conflict moment for me, because we keep snapping back to the family and the kids missing dad, and
Yeah.
and like you said, the fights breaking out, and the dissension between all of the talent that is part of the circus. So you end up like, the fire is this ideal point of major conflict, but the
Mhm.
conflict was like broken up into six little pieces and sprinkled while he's on the train
Yeah.
with her. And I really think that that other myth of the reinvention as morality also plays into what you were saying, because Barnum does not really ever have to reckon with who he is. He just has to become a better version of himself.
Right.
And PT feels like the kind of guy who is always being, this is a weird phrase, but a decent sleazeball.
Yeah.
So he's always like
He's
so
ambiguous. He's very
endearing. Yeah,
ambiguous.
he's so endearing that he can be love bombing, gaslighting,
Hmm.
and completely misleading everybody. But because he is so charismatic, he can get away with it.
Right.
He was the freaking mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense that he could be in politics, like for
Oh
real.
yeah.
And that isn't even really addressed in the film. So again, it's not a biopic, but that is a fantastic aside that could have been touched on. So this movie, like, its redemption is basically a rebrand of PT, because he has imposter syndrome, but he sees it as he has imposter syndrome, but he sees it as a talent. He sees his imposter syndrome as like a positive character trait,
Yeah.
because he's thinking, how can I, oh, wait, these really tall people and this lady with the beard and these twins, and oh, you know what? All of these people are really outcasts, but they've got talent. You want to be in the circus? So that the scene where he's amassing his talent
Hmm.
is I think in three of the four official trailers from the studio, a portion of that was used,
Right.
where he's meeting a talent, because it is one of the most striking like visual examples, like of PT standing on the desk to shake the really tall guy's hand, you
Yeah.
know. And there are enough times where PT and even his family, you see his girls start to sniff it a little, and they're and like, okay, the moment that I actually had a shred of a heartfelt for him was when he had been away from his family for a while, and his girls asked, "Did you bring us a gift?" And he, on the fly, makes up something, like
That part was, yeah.
completely designs and basically story tells in a story to his daughters about this amazing thing that he brought back from his travels, right?
Hmm.
And the whole time that scene was playing out, I was like, Charity is gonna rip him apart. as soon as they go to bed. Like there's going to be this moment where Michelle Williams and Hugh Jackman have this like point of conflict, because I kept waiting for it to happen. I kept waiting for his family to be the thing that broke it apart, and it never
Right.
really was. And his wife was so endearing to him that she co-signed the whole thing, and you could see like her face and her heart kind of be like, oh my god, he really loves them. Oh, that
Yeah.
is so darling. Like it was.
She was like
I
the first, not victim, but like person to fall for his like
Yes,
charm and his con. Like not that it's a full con. He definitely loves her. He definitely loves his
he
kids.
does.
But at
And
least
and she's like a willing participant in the slickness.
yeah.
But the fruits of that slickness she pushes away.
Yeah.
And
She just loves
and
him.
when
Yeah. And
she exactly.
she knows wealth. She doesn't go for him for wealth because she knows that's less likely to be to work than than just sticking with
Yeah,
whoever her family wants her to be with.
and no matter how much he tries to shower her with it, she doesn't give two redheaded shits.
Yeah.
In fact, she smells it, and she even says to him, like, "Oh, you bought the house next to my parents. Yay." Like she doesn't care. And she says as much to him.
Yeah.
Speaking of what works and what doesn't. So the movie is not subtle, but the subtlety isn't always subtlety is not always the job of a musical. When we did our Singing in the Rain episode, I talked about how sometimes, and actually there's some outtakes from that episode where I said, oh yeah, no, the songs in Singing in the Rain don't tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
They just enhance the story.
Mm-hmm.
In classic musicals, and I believe this is one of the reasons you pick this as our rule, in classic musicals that are adaptations, the songs are storytelling. Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to take something from a stage or a book, you've got to use the music as additional context to what's going on, because you didn't write this for film. You wrote this for a two-dimensional medium, a medium that has to play out in someone's head, think book, or a medium that has to play out with the limitations of stage.
Yeah.
And when I watch The Greatest Showman, my wife's favorite part is the music. The songs are freaking fantastic. Audience, the songs bring down the goddamn house in this movie.
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
Really do. They are that dang good. And I mean that. And this is coming from someone who grew up with musicals. I have a bias, but they're fantastic. They're catchy. They're fun. They're interesting. When you watch them on the screen, you get these visual examples of different moments in the sound. And then when you watch them back in your head, you're thinking of the stomping. You're thinking of things moving and swinging and the things that are happening in the ring. Like you remember all these because the visual production hit. But those big hooks and the fast character sketches and the immediate emotional payoffs kind of give way to the emotional peaks belonging to the characters that never fully get developed. So This Is Me is my example of that.
Which one is that?
So This Is Me is the big, like, most well-known song from the movie, and the highlight character is the bearded lady, which I'm not remembering. Kayla Settle, Kayla Setley.
Yeah.
She audience, go find. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Go find the video of them doing like a rehearsal of This Is Me when they're all just in a studio space and there's a live band playing. Nobody's in costume. There are people popping up because they are becoming so emotionally invested in the lyrics of this song and the emotion that it conveys. But we barely get character development from that character.
We really don't. And,
It-
okay,
like
so I
it
want
is such an example of like you miss the mark. You know,
I want to like talk about it for a second. About I don't agree with you on the music, but it is my first viewing. I don't agree on the. This is not my middle finger; it's just my pointer finger.
no, it was mine.
I think "Never Enough" is the one that I is the
Oh,
only one
Never
that was,
Enough is your hit.
Well, that's the only one I
Okay.
had heard before. And that was the only
okay.
one that really like I was like, okay, this is like the other songs were serviceable in their context, but they like nothing stood out as like I'm gonna listen to this the way that Wicked has a bunch of songs that the first time I heard them I was like, oh, this is I'm hooked. Or
Had you seen Wicked before hearing the song?
nope.
Okay, so my experience for this was my wife's enthusiasm, my background in being emotionally connected to musicals,
Sure.
but I had the visual. So
Sure.
I think if I heard these songs just on like the radio, I can't believe I'm saying that. How
No,
old
but I'm
am
saying
I?
the first
If
time
I heard
I
these,
heard the Wicked songs was the first time I watched the movie.
oh, okay. So it wasn't just you heard it without the
Right.
visual.
So,
Oh,
like,
okay,
to give you an example of what you're talking about, which I agree with, is like I saw the Oscars performance of the How Far I'll Go for Moana before I saw Moana, and I was like, this song's fine. Why
Oh.
did this song get nominated?
Yeah.
Now, having seen that movie, and not just audience, I think Moana is the best Disney film of this century so far.
First or second one?
First one, obviously, first one.
For
Second one's
sure.
good for a sequel, but the first one is a masterpiece.
First one is yes.
And how far I'll go is incredible. But part of what sells it is the context of the movie too. And so like I realized that.
Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't hurt.
Right. But like I just didn't get the hype when I saw the performance at the Oscars, and then when I saw the movie I did. This is more similar to having seen Wicked, where it's like I saw the movie and heard most of the music for the first time all at once. I heard a lot of the Hamilton music before seeing the show, obviously, and I heard quite a bit of it out of order, and that music caught me on the first time. So, like, to me, this music does not catch me. Now, maybe if I watched it 2 or 3 more times, I'd be like, okay, I'm really into a few of these, but it doesn't have that hook the way that a lot of musicals do with their music. None of it was bad. None of it was like, oh Jesus, let's move on. But none of it, like, other than Never Enough, nothing really stood out to me with the music.
So I like how
Holly's gonna hate me.
No. I hear me on this. So I am a big, given my disability, I'm a very big visual person, and also
me too, as somebody who does not have the ability to visualize.
I was about to say you have aphantasia, just like my wife has aphantasia. I don't. She? Yeah. So she gets the most out of something with the visual and the auditory input.
Yeah.
And then when my wife wants to experience something, she won't put the song on. She'll go find the video of that rehearsal.
Yeah.
She'll go find the YouTube video or the official clip of that performance from the movie, The Greatest Showman. She's not going to like visualize it in her head. I can do that. You can't. Yeah. Interesting. You're a filmmaker. What a hard challenge to have to do. So
in some ways, it also means that I'm more collaborative because I'm not like, this is the way it has to be, you know?
Yeah. So let's give an example. When you look at the music crew for The Greatest Showman, you've got 3 people. You've got Tony LePage, Benji Pasek, and Justin Paul. Justin Paul and Benji Pasek worked on La La Land, Aladdin, Spirited, and I think even Snow White together. Yes, they have identical catalogs of work. Those two, Benj and Justin.
Mhm.
Tony has only ever worked on The Greatest Showman. It's the only thing to his credit. So when you're looking at just I don't know, the music survives in this film,
Mhm.
but it doesn't do the characters any like literary or plot justice.
Mhm.
Look at, for example, talking about last month, look at Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Singing in the Rain further explains the conflict that's going on with Don Lockwood and, oh my god, I just forgot his name, Cosmo.
Cosmo. Yeah. I don't remember Cosmo's last name, but
And oh god, the love interest, Kathy.
Kathy.
So you've got those three characters, and Singing in the Rain is the jubilation that comes from them thinking that their entire careers are over.
Right.
And although you can say, oh, well, what is This Is Me? This Is Me is the ballad of 1 second. I just had her in front of me. So it is the ballad of Letty Lutz saying, I am who I am. This is my character. This is my physical appearance, but it does not make my entire identity. My identity is my actions, how I carry myself, how I act towards others. It's all of this outward projection, not the inward perception of me as a person. So when I'll be honest, I grew up as a theater kid and I was not exactly a social butterfly. In fact, I was hella awkward and had like 5 friends my entire life. So I was not a social guy. Music nerds and theater people, we often were already outcasts to begin with. So a song that speaks to that has a lot of sticking power with theater nerds. So if you look at this movie, even builds this mythology around the coming out of the coming up story of a guy that just squeezed capitalism for all it was worth and enjoyed doing it, and then at the same time had enough charisma to squeak his way back into into the favor of others, right? Whereas the music, the problem that I had is it works because Lutz's character sells the hell out of it. It works because the idea is powerful, but narratively, it gets stabbed in the fucking face. And it's not helping the movie, unfortunately.
Right. Do you think, and I think that there would be an opportunity to do this differently if they had fictionalized and said, we're not going to do P.T. Barnum, because P.T. Barnum, while he was the first in a lot of ways, there was Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, and there was, Bailey did a circus pretty quickly after. If you had a fictionalized amalgamation of all these guys, and then you did it more of an ensemble of, because like there is an ensemble, like this movie wants to be an ensemble feel to make up for the fact that P.T. Barnum kind of comes off as a piece of shit, right? But they don't do the ensemble right. We give Zac Efron and Zendaya some space to work, and they work well, I think. Even though I don't think Zac Efron's a great actor in non-comedic roles. And Zendaya's brilliant, but she doesn't seem to be like a great singer. But then you've got you've got Michelle Williams.
Dude, I agree with you. I agree with you with Zac Efron. Like Zac Efron's great in comedies. Yeah. And I didn't know he was that great of a dancer, like an old school traditional musical theater performer. Dance, He is. I know. I didn't expect it.
But yeah. So like, I think that like those 3 supporting characters get some time, but we don't really have an ensemble the way that you would for other, like lots of other musicals do a better job of, right? Because realistically, the reason why the woman who plays Letty is picked is because she's a great singer, not because she's a famous person. Unlike Efron, Williams, Zendaya, they're good actors. I'm not knocking their acting or singing ability, but I'm saying their star power. But when you get those supporting characters, you're getting people who can sing, who can belt. Like they can belt and they can dance. Background in musicals and are always going to be hired for the quality of their musical theater capabilities.
Well,
And
yeah,
why
and
not?
when you look at
You have the
and when
one
you look
song
at
showcasing that.
yeah,
Really.
and when you look at the other songs or the other movies Settle's been in, it's her character as Miss Coddle in the Wicked series, her character in
I did not realize that was the same person.
it is.
Oh, damn.
She was ensemble in the 2019 Rent.
Yeah.
She was in Forbidden, which was in 2018. All My Life in 2020. The Box in 2018. So she is very much been hired as the woman who can sing. Now, what is interesting about framing this the way you just did, as let's just make it about a circus. Let's make it about an entertainer and make it like touching on some of P.T. Barnum or the Ringling Brothers, like sort of getting near
You could
that.
even have them be side characters. Like I'm
Sure.
yeah.
You could have him make an appearance. You could have P.T. Barnum make an appearance in this rival circus that this movie is about. Sure.
Right.
And
there's plenty of movies that do that. They're like, oh, the subject of this can't really be whitewashed, so let's just take the concept and then we'll throw that character in so that like, well, no, that character, remember he shows up in the third act to try to buy him out, or whatever. Yep. And like they do that. Like this movie is perfect pickings for that. Like
it is. What you were saying is the mythology fails because you were saying like kind of whitewash it. Barnum as like this sanitized version of American ambition is what this film is really about. And if you strip the music out of it, as I was mentioning earlier, you don't end up with enough grit or like material left to tell this. And even if what's the musical number when they're at the bar? When Other Side, yeah. So when they're at the bar and he essentially signs on Philip Carlyle's character as to be part of this circus, like that's even a fantastic time to make Barnum's story into like one of inclusion, because he's bringing on much more well-regarded or accepted people in the public eye, someone who's willing to take a chance on PT's vision. But sanitizing PT's or Barnum's like American ambition, he wants success too much.
Right.
He's being distracted by the respectability enough that he buys the house down the street from his in-laws.
Which
to try to stunt on them and be like, hey, look what I've got now. And his wife didn't give two shits.
I actually am
fine.
I'm fine with them not whitewashing him in that way. I'm fine with that being like, let's focus on how much.
They didn't.
And I'm glad they didn't. But what I think they could have done, when we go back to that, like that, you talked about the underdeveloped characters, is all the underdeveloped characters, which you absolutely could have developed a little bit, even if it's just one or two of them. It's all of the people who. I get that Zendaya as a black woman was marginalized in the movie, but but in every other way, you focused on the people who could live in society. Like there's that whole thing about like when they say like our parents hid us from the world, and you don't give any one of them any real time. You give Zendaya's character, like, yes, would being black at that time be a hardship? Of course. But black people existed and they could live in the world, as opposed to, like the freak show, the all those other those people. You could focus on them, especially because that's one of the problems with what he did, was he dehumanized in some ways, whether he meant to do it or didn't mean to do it or meant to exploit it or whatever.
Yeah, good point.
The process dehumanized them. This movie didn't really make up for it in that way by having any of them have much of a character we have that one song from
Yeah.
her. There are lines from the others, but there isn't, ultimately the black girl with the pink hair is the like closest to the actual like circus folk who gets any character development. And she also happened to be a Disney Channel star who was that same year starring in Spider-Man, like and since then has become a huge star. And so it's like,
I mean, no, good point. Choosing that as the character you develop, you're right. The Disney connection and the fact that she was obviously about to become Spider-Man household name, right?
yeah,
From Homecoming to Far From Home to No Way Home. Like you've got so many of her times as MJ
yeah.
being the better use of her.
Oh, but also like since then, this is interesting when I saw that Michelle Williams was in it because you're the same generation as me. Michelle Williams is from Dawson's Creek, and even though they all had some success post Dawson's Creek, she's the one where like she's been Oscar nominated like 4 or 5 times. She's amazing in everything, and she's the one who kind of came out and did something really heavy, gravitas to her career. Zendaya is at this point in her career, she is someone who's coming off Disney Channel, going into a Spider-Man movie and this like fun musical. And then, yes, does she continue to do Spider-Man? Yes. But she's in Dune. She was in the drama this year, I'm hearing, is like this really weird experimental film. She was in was it Competitors? What was the name of that movie? The tennis movie.
Challenger?
Challenger.
Challengers?
Yeah.
Challengers, yes.
Challengers, yeah. And so she kind of has had like a similar arc to Michelle Williams, which I thought was interesting.
I agree. The Greatest Showman's biggest failure is trying to use the music to like sort of frame, but it never tells more of a story the way that I want music to do in musicals.
Right.
Music to do in musicals, like the classic operetta or the classic stage version, is the music is the character's head voice,
Yeah.
or it's the character's conflict, or it's this specific these two specific people's decision making. Like, we're about to go rob a place, we've got a planet, but let's sing about it. This film has so many of those moments that just as soon as you're like, and then you get nothing from it. So This Is Me was my big, like, come on, it's right there. You've got it. What your Gracie and Bix and Condon, which is the producer and the two writers, you had so many opportunities to swing for the fences, and you needed them to come home more emotionally, and it never stuck.
Right.
And also the Jenny Lynn subplot was a whole nother, like, you had so many more opportunities there too.
Yeah. I think that there was a lot squandered. So I want to take my big hot take. I don't know if you've seen either of the movies I'm about to mention. But I think that this movie mixes Big Fish with Moulin Rouge, and it's not as good at what it does as either of those.
So you just mentioned two of my favorite films. I cry at Big Fish. I still do.
Yep.
I love that film. And Moulin Rouge was my first experience into that like borderline campy kind of a film. And it was introduced to me by the girl I was dating at the time, because I had never seen musical movie. I had just, again, with my parents, I had gone and seen musical theater.
Right.
So I had never really experienced a musical on film that way. And those two films, no, they both do what this tried to better.
Right.
In fact, much better. Like in Big Fish, I have emotional connection to those characters.
Right. Well, and also there is a similarity to the like collecting oddity people in Big Fish, right? Like, but what there isn't is the baggage of P.T. Barnum. There isn't the like we can't, like even a 10-year-old who has not been told to think this way was like, this is fucking weird. Like that he's just making a freak show. Like there's all of that part of it. I think that there's so much stylistically that reminded me of Moulin Rouge. And now
Yes,
Moulin Rouge, I think the music is better, but the music is not
it
original.
is.
Whereas this took the swing at being original music, which I think is, I like a big swing, so I will give them credit for that. But I just think that overall, this doesn't hit the way that either of those movies do, and
It
it
doesn't. You're
really
right.
felt like an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah, and with what you just said, like a good question for Mike. Uh, is this is this a great musical number movie more than it is a great movie?
I don't. I mean, there was like the one good song that I would listen to again, but
No, and
and I would
I
watch the
entirely
movie again, but not anytime soon. That's like Logan was like, I liked it. I want to,
I can
like
like it, but
by
I'm
the end
liking
of
it
it,
as
Logan was like, okay,
background.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm liking it as background. And again,
Mhm.
because my wife has aphantasia, she will put on movies as background. I pay attention to something when it's on a screen. Like,
Mhm.
sorry, I'm just going to. So the
This I had a
idea,
harder time hold. This had a harder time holding my attention than a lot
I
of
agree.
our movies recently, to the point
No,
where like I mean I
totally
was
agree.
at no point did I wander off, but like I wasn't like I'm gonna pause it while I go grab a can from the
Yeah,
fridge. Like
no, I
whereas a lot of
agree.
times I do. Like and I was like, what am I gonna miss in the 30 seconds? And that kind
Oh my
of
God, I so agree because I did that. I went and made popcorn.
yeah.
I went and made popcorn and came back and I just listened to it in the background.
Mhm.
Yeah, I knew my wife was going to fill me in if something happened, but I actually didn't think I would miss that much.
Right.
And when you're speaking of ensemble, would this movie work better if the ensemble were the real protagonists?
I think it would. I think there's several ways in which you could make this movie stick for me. Um,
Yeah,
that I
that's
don't
one of
think are
mine.
that I don't
Like
think
if you
are
develop them
drastic
more.
changes. I don't think they're like
No,
changing
no,
what the
no.
movie is fundamentally. I think if you make him not P.T. Barnum, you make him J.D. Dorian. No, that's from Scrubs. Um,
Circus mixed circus face.
you just make him somebody else, and then you get rid of a lot of the baggage. You do what I said, like you just move the fire up 15 minutes or so, and then you have a
Yeah.
little more on the other end of that. Then you have
Hmm.
an actual moment towards the end, as opposed to
You
like
would.
you don't have a moment to settle in that like, oh, the circus has burned down and
Yeah.
all is lost. You need the all is lost moment, but as they're having the all is lost moment, you're like Zac Efron's coming over in his suit, like, and you're like, things are gonna, we know things are gonna get fixed, but usually
Yeah.
you don't have 30 seconds between problem and fix. You have 20
You have a
minutes
little,
to
yeah.
build it, and so like that's a small, like these are all small things that I think would make this movie significantly better. But
It would, and I also believe that the music needs the visual to matter to me. So that is
yeah,
a fantastic example of if Holly never showed me that rehearsal for This Is Me when they're just with a live band in a rehearsal space. I remember going to those as a kid. I remember practicing in them. I can sing. I was in chorus. So, like, all of this, I can attach so much of my past to.
yeah,
But if you just like queued it up and played me the song, it's song. It's a song shaped thing.
yeah.
It is music. It is chorus. It is singing. It is yay. There's not enough about it to like make me think, oh yeah, I really want to. I want to know what happens to this person
Yeah.
that's singing this. I want to know what the next thing is that's gonna go down between these two characters that are fighting or that are in conflict. It's just song.
Mhm.
It's 4 minutes of noise. Good noise, well structured noise, but
Mhm.
noise.
Do you recommend this movie?
I'm going to. This is really difficult. I am going to say yes, but it's got so many caveats
Yeah,
because it is still asking for so much of your time. And there are so many better musicals, even the ones that don't fit your super restrictive rules for this month,
that's
that
not
I
a
would
super
rather.
restrictive rule. There's like 1,000
You
movies.
say this, but it cuts out one of the best ones. So there are so many other films that I'd rather watch.
It also cuts out The
Historical
Godfather.
picks. Huh?
It also cuts out The Godfather, one of the best movies ever made. And there's plenty
Okay,
of
this is
live
true.
music in that.
Not the same way. That's not a musical. I know what
I,
you're trying to do. I'm not falling for it, PT. So, in this format, because there are other movies that are better musicals, and there are movies that are better historical fun romps of a sort of well-known person's past, I'm going to say yes, but for my recommendation. And the but is if you've got nothing else that you want to watch right now,
yeah.
because it
Uh,
very well may let you down. How about that?
yeah. It's if this is like, oh, we're gonna have a big family night and we're all gonna enjoy a movie, like I would not recommend it. If you're like,
No,
I
no, no,
love
oh,
musicals,
totally
I'm gonna
agree.
watch it my own because Sarah went to bed. Sarah was like, I don't need to stick around. And she
Oh,
was the most
I
excited
like
for the
that.
movie.
I like that. That's perfect. You have to want to watch a musical. You have to love musicals and love musical theater and
Yeah.
love, like, if you loved Wicked, you're going to get let down by this because it's not as good of a film as far as character development and humor and, and
That
interesting
okay.
things you remember, you know?
That's actually another great point that you make is this movie isn't very fun. Like, and
No.
I'm not saying a musical has to be fun. Les Mis isn't fun, but Les Mis hits, right? Or,
Yeah.
like you have to either be fun or so fucking good. And this movie
Yeah.
is not either. Like there's not much in this movie where I'm like, this was a great time, this part.
It,
There's some
the,
moments that hit, but they're not like there's no scenes where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to rewatch that.
so,
You know what I mean?
so, okay. So without revealing our scores, movies that we've ranked the same way, I'm going to ask you, would you recommend Rosemary's Baby?
Um, yes. But that's
The Evil Dead?
yes.
Hard Eyes?
I think I scored Hard Eyes better than this. I scored
You did.
this is my tied for second lowest scored film. So, spoiler alert. Since we started.
Oh, okay.
But what I will say is
No.
it's tied with
That's what I'm
Rosemary's
doing.
Baby, which is why I thought you asked. Rosemary's
Well,
Baby.
well, that's part
You're
of
going
it.
through our
I'm
scores. I'm going through my
Yeah. So
score.
I'm looking at other films we scored the same and thinking, did we say we recommend it? Because I really don't think outside of A Christmas Story we have said don't waste your time yet.
Right.
And this is a movie that, like, The Grinch 2018. Like, it's not saying that it's bad, but there are so many scenarios where I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
So,
it's not worth the time
well, let me
if you
give you the
don't want to
caveat.
watch a musical, you know?
Let me give you the caveat. Okay, so for me, I'm just gonna look at my individual ratings, and so
Yeah.
the two movies that I rated the same as this are The Grinch 2018, which I think I probably said yeah, whatever. I don't remember what I said to it, but um, it's fluff. Like it's kind of the exact same thing I'm saying here. Is like yeah, maybe. Um, Rosemary's Baby is the other one that I gave the same ranking to.
Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby, I would say you should watch it because it is like a cultural thing. Like
Actually, you gave Rosemary's Baby different rankings in this, but the average came the same.
my totals on the totals column for me, K column, is the same. So
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I see. Yeah.
So I gave that like a go see it or check it out movie, but that is like honestly, because Rosemary's Baby is a thing that is culturally significant, whether the
I
movie's
agree.
good or not.
Okay, I like that framing. It's a big deal regardless,
Right.
kind of
Where
thing. Yeah.
and Greatest Showman is not that. Now there are
No.
people who really are big fans of it. Like Logan at one point last night said, all the girls in OM love this movie. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, because they're not old
No, but
enough
that
to
100%
watch.
tracks.
They're not old enough to watch Moulin Rouge, which is the better version.
No, you know what?
They would probably love Moulin Rouge, but there's it's about a prostitute. So
I would also, no, you're right. But I would also go as far as to say the girls in Odyssey of the Mind that he's in there with
yeah,
are the turbo nerd kind of people that
yeah, it's a
I
theater
was
nerd
probably friends with. Yeah, exactly. So that tracks.
Yeah. All right. So should we
And
do
I rated this lower than you.
Yeah.
by a titch. So what is your fun and watchability?
6.
Same.
It's
6.
It's not bad. It's not like, it wasn't like, oh God, when is this movie over? But it's an hour 45, and which I consider it to be a not long movie, and it did not feel like a short movie.
So it felt a little like we're stretching the cheese a little too much here, and it's about to break, and you're just waiting so you can take your bite of pizza. Like it very much feels like, would you just snap so I can take this bite?
Yes. Yeah.
I agree. The reason it's not a 5 for me, and this is kind of the musical thing, is if the musical numbers weren't there, it would be even lower, because it's that meh of like work with what you had. It's that much of a downer with what you had as content, the talent you signed on for this. And actually, one of the messages I sent to Mike, and I know I said it to my wife, is was the movie with him and Seth and Seth, was it Bad Neighbors?
Yeah.
Or Neighbors?
Neighbors.
I remember saying to Holly, I was like, well, he shouldn't have, when Zac Efron was getting beat up, I remember I said, well, he shouldn't have put that airbag in that chair. And she immediately started laughing. She's like, oh my God, that's kind of a better role for Zac Efron. I'm like, I know he's better at comedy than he is serious shit, but he happens to be able to dance.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a 6, not a 5, because the music helps it, but it's a 6 and not a 7 because without the music, it's middle at best.
Right. All right. And then on quality, I gave it a 7. And I would say, because I think it was although when I think about the writing really was not, the pacing, the structure wasn't really great. But
that's why I'm a 6.
There's a lot of visually good quality. I think that the singers are talented. The dancing is that's why I don't want to like go as low. Like, because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I appreciate like that these people are talented. I just don't give a shit about watching this. Like,
but that's what Subjective's all about.
That's why I wanted to give it a higher than a watchability by a point, is just because these people are talented. They're doing a good job. They're just not given much to do a good job with. So like the actors and performers are great. The visuals, I think, are very good.
Yes. And actually the visuals is the reason I'm a 6 and not a 7.
Oh, okay.
I feel, hear me on this, because I'm starting to learn a little more about film craft from working with you and being part of this. The cinematography and the production and editing quality during the musical numbers feels like it's done by an entirely different squad than the rest of the movie. So the use of color and the big camera pans and swings and the use of effects and stunts, obviously stunts, but during the musical numbers, there are so many times where I would rewind it just to watch the musical play out. But then as soon as you went back to the characters talking, it was just movie. It was just a turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
It was food. It wasn't amazing. There wasn't any bacon. It was serviceable. There were so many opportunities with as much money and as much power that you had behind a movie like this to build a much more elaborate or at least detail oriented presentation.
Right.
And it felt like it was flat because all of that time, and I would really be embarrassed if it was the exact same team, those musical numbers had beautiful visuals.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Zendaya, when
When she
her and
goes
Zach have their
up in the air with the
yes.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
it was
So much of that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Look, I'm getting a little chilly right now. But then when you go to like the two of them talking, it's just two shots.
Yeah.
It's a little shot, reverse shot.
All right.
It's a little over the shoulders.
You're going to talk me into dropping it a point.
And I'm not trying to do that again. I'm not trying to do that again because this is my subjectivity.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of thing that I felt did the same justice visually to both sides. And usually my quality has a lot to do with the visuals or what you did with what you had. It's fun, but it's only fun because it's a musical. Take the music out, meh. So our average for this is one of our lowest, and it's a 12.5, which ranks it as close as, what's the closest to this? Rosemary's Baby.
Mhm.
And the next closest is 12.5.
It's above Christmas Story, which shall not be dethroned as the worst.
Shall not be dethroned as the worst. I like how you turn that because the one that shall not be dethroned as the best is A Muppet Christmas Carol. But like it's kind of close to a Grinch 2018, and I bet you if I watched that again, my rating would change. And we've talked about audience doing that, and definitely them flexing, or our ratings flexing. But please see The Greatest Showman if you want a fantastic musical. Please see The Greatest Showman if you already subscribe to something where it's playing. Don't go buying this or go seeing it at a second play theater expecting something more than just, it was good. It was good. Nothing wrong with it. It was good. But I would have rather seen, like Mike said, Moulin Rouge, which I would agree. I would have rather seen Big Fish, which I think I actually have Big Fish on our 2 watch list.
Yeah.
Because for me, that is,
I haven't
like, for
seen it
storytelling,
in 20 years, but I remember liking it.
So for storytelling and fable and like that yarn developing, Big Fish is primary example of that in spades. This is just serviceable good. It's not objectively bad. It's just serviceable good movie.
All right, so next week we're going to be watching 1999's Topsy Turvy by Mike Leigh. I don't know that I've ever seen a Mike Leigh movie before.
I know I haven't.
He's very famous, and he's done quite a bit of well-respected films. So, like, it's about goddamn time, and it's pretty musical. And I like the actors that I recognize from it. So I'm excited for Topsy Turvy next week.
I am too, and considering how much I've already spoken about Gilbert and Sullivan being my beginning to musicals, but also just musical theater, I am excited to not only watch something that I've never seen before again, because I was about to say we should do Wonka stuff because I know how much I like those.
I do too, but 2 out of the 3.
Yeah, Topsy Turvy is just Princess Ida, the lukewarm press. Like, we're going to have conflict. We're going to have a little bit of history. And I believe that Topsy Turvy is a little more biopic than The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's a little more.
I would imagine. I also think that they're probably not as controversial as P.T. Barnum, so you can just and also it's a rated R musical, and so like and this isn't like being made for like trying to make it appealing to all ages, like the way that I think that this week's was.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that.
All right.
So, man, I'm buzzed. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one too. Okay, so if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. Comment if we are completely full of shit about this movie. If you agree with us that it's overrated, and it's not bad, but it's not great. Tell us whatever you think about that. Also, let us know where you want us to go for our fourth. Although we're probably going to pick it in the next 5 minutes, if I'm being honest. So, but let us know what you want us to do next month. I guess that's a better one.
Yeah.
And like I said, like and subscribe. If you want to check out these episodes as soon as we're done editing them, you can go over to patreon.com and for $26 you get the rest of the year. As soon as I'm done editing, I post them. And that's just a good way of supporting the show, essentially, helping us to be able to see movies, and do this. Yeah, and also, like I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing some movie reviews that are on that aren't part of the Cinemen podcast, but are part of the Chocolate Diamond channel. I'm hoping Alex will do the same. Just throwing up some movie reviews as we see them, and we're excited to see you next week for Topsy Turvy.
Topsy Turvy next week. See you then.